Military leader accused of war crimes in the former Yugoslavia. Thank you very much for your time and for being with us today.
Thank you.
Now, your father, Ratko Mladic, is 70 as of now. You've more than once stated that he is in poor health. We know that former Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic died while being tried by the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia in The Hague. Will your father be able to stand the tribunal proceedings?
I cannot comment a lot about this. My father, of course, has some issues regarding his health. We are very concerned about it, and especially the pace of the tribunal regarding everyday works of many hours. We fear that this can further endanger his health. Since he is not only 70 years old, but has some medical concerns. Of course, these facts that some of the people there died are still more concern for us.
Have you met your father while he was preparing for tribunal? When's the last time you saw him?
Well, we saw each other many times in recent year. Last time I was 2 months ago there. At this point, he is more focused on his health and regarding his defense, he is preparing with his lawyers. And I hope that he will have enough time to do these preparations, since we have certain problems regarding disclosure of materials from prosecutor's office.
Darko, you are the son of a man who now stands trial for genocide, war, and other crimes, but you know the other side of the story. Do you think he will ever see freedom again?
Well, we are going to fight for his freedom, all of us, whichever means we have. The accusations against him are very tough, and we think that is wrong. A lot of these charges are actually produced by war propaganda from the start of the war, and unfortunately they have managed to endure in media and in the diplomacy for a very long time. So although we have a difficult situation here, we all are giving our best to help him to deny these lies.
Several of Ratko's subordinates have already been found guilty. How can your father be innocent?
Well, I don't know about that proceedings, since I'm not a lawyer and did not follow these other trials, so I cannot comment on this. I can comment on my father, since I know who he is. As you can imagine, because you are working in media, in this case there is two Ratko Mladic. One is the Ratko Mladic media product, which is far away from real Ratko Mladic I know. So as his son and somebody who knows him, I am perfectly confident that he is not guilty of these charges.
Well, talking of media, I know that Western media have labeled your father Butcher of Bosnia. It's a similar label they put on Radovan Karadzic. Do you think that black media PR can impact judges' impartiality?
Well, I hope not, but as you may already know, the defense team has filed a motion to disqualify presiding judge, since they think he already showed some bias in this case. And regarding the media story, it's funny that 20 years after these events have happened, the same things that were launched in media about genocide, hundreds of thousands of dead and so on, live another day in Western media, although the sources are already picturing very different picture. And as far as I see in these 20 years, the media, especially from the countries which were involved heavily on the other side in helping them waging a war against us, they still are sticking to their start story, which was genocide in '92 before anything happened. I suspect that these allegations were produced even before the war started.
You know, there's widespread belief that, though this hasn't been proved yet, that your father is directly responsible for Srebrenica massacre and that he masterminded this massacre, which took lives of about 8,000 people. Who can prove the opposite? Are there means to prove the opposite?
Well, I hope there is. But since we have a lot of power against us, it will be a difficult task. But I hope it's not impossible.
Your father's trial also coincides with the one over Radovan Karadzic, your father's former chief and a close ally once. He is, of course, accused of similar, identical crimes. For many, it would look like a show trial over the two men. But, I mean, how much guilt do they carry, really?
I cannot comment on Radovan Karadzic, but regarding my father, I am proud of his role in the Bosnian War. Not because I think that he is guilty of anything, but because I think and know that he was doing his job in this war, and the primarily objective of our side was to protect our people from being exposed to genocide again. I must remind you, if you don't know, the Serbian people was the people who was suffering from genocide in the Second World War, from the fascists from all sides. And in this war, media portray us as we are fascists and perpetrators of genocide. And this inversion for me is a terrible attack on the truth, because all we did is defending ourselves from being again exposed to genocide. And my father succeeded in this task, and I'm proud of this role of his in the war. On the contrary, if I have any doubt that he is guilty of some of these charges, I would not stand by him.
There's a belief that Serbian authorities actually allowed Mladic to stay at large in Serbia for almost 16 years after the tribunal indictment. What happened? Has he lost the support of the powerful people that could be helping him to avoid detention? No,
I cannot agree with you. The situation about this is very different, and it's too complicated to answer it in this short time. But I think that only firm support my father had and has is within the Serbian people.
You know, critics point out that the tribunal has never issued an indictment for NATO officials involved in Balkan wars. Is that a fair claim? What do you think?
Well, for me, it's obvious that NATO was the side in conflict, you know, from media support, from diplomatic support, and from the military support, and at the end of the war with direct military engagement. So unfortunately, they are side in the conflict, and probably they have some joint plans with other side in this conflict. But as you can see, the tribunal is not interested in investigating any of these plans.
It's no secret to anyone that your father's arrest was a turning point in Serbia's bid to join the EU. This year, 10 months after the arrest, the European Council granted Serbia official candidate status for EU membership. Do you feel like your father was sort of a pawn in Serbia's political game?
No, I don't think that he was a pawn. He was probably some kind of tool for pressure over Serbia, and that the problems in Serbia will not be solved, are not solved with his extradition. That this was a false dilemma, actually.
I'm going to ask you a question, and if you can, try to answer me with either yes or no. Do you think your father will get a fair trial?
I hope that he will get a fair trial, but you see, we have different experience with United Nations envoys during the war. I hope that they will live up to the standards they are claiming they have. But I would like to remind you that recently Mr. Thorvald Stoltenberg gave an interview in which he said regarding events in the Bosnian War that intermediaries had to be against the Serbs, looking the other way for Croats and helping the Muslims. So if this is their definition of impartiality, I fear that this kind of impartiality would not lead to a fair trial. So I cannot answer you with yes or no.
Darko Mladic, son of Ratko Mladic, thanks a lot for being with us today.
Thank you.